Three. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Change Within podcast. This is Gerard Uselli here. This is episode 5. Again, magnificent conversations, collaborations, and opportunities in the works. It has been an honor to get to know people within even my own state of New York, and then none of the less, just working with people throughout the country and getting to know their stories. But this one specifically is close to home. So my guest for today is an amazing hip hop artist with a story to tell. Her name is Wendy Zizzo. Wendy, how are you doing today?
Hello. Oh, I'm groovy. Super.
Absolutely. How's everything been for you in a new year? Like, how's everything going as for 2021 with you?
Oh man. So far it's been great. I mean, despite the things that happen around in society, I don't put my attention there. I put it on to me creating what I want. And it's been great. Like my birthday, my solar return just passed. I had a great birthday. My daughter went back to college. So I'm happy.
There you have it. You got it all right there in your hands on that one.
There you go. There you go.
So
I'm working, I'm
absolutely.
good.
So as you have a kid going back to school and everything like that, kind of to even take a more of a step back for your childhood, what was it like for you growing up?
Oh man, totally opposite than what my daughter got it. Growing up was definitely in the realm of, it was tough. It was my mom was. She didn't have the regular 9-to-5 type of life. She was into the life of just doing things she probably shouldn't have been doing. And it put us in places where I was in foster care, in shelters. And then once we got back from that, it was just, I would say growing up was just very tough. Growing up, coming through the crack era, I'm an 80s baby. So, coming through that era, it's like, it was just a totally different paradigm of, the social norm of what an upbringing could or should be, So, my mom definitely did the best she could with the knowledge that she had or didn't have. But it was definitely a challenging childhood, which, I discuss a lot of that in my book, because I feel like those hard trials and tribulations contributed towards me eventually developing cancer.
Absolutely. And getting into that a little bit later, because your story kind of forms for itself as far as how you've superseded past that point in your life. And one of those senses of getting to what you're very good at, which is hip hop music. I was curious how you fell into that genre of music. And then what were you doing, like any hobbies that kind of like led to it at certain points?
Oh, well, I started playing the saxophone in the 4th grade.
Oh, nice.
I was in the band, before that I'm also an illustrating artist. I've been drawing since as when I could pick up a pen, a pencil. So, I got into music in elementary school. Then I went into the band in junior high school. And then I got into playing the keyboard. And, poetry came from, well, first when I learned free writing, that opened up the door, and then poetry just came naturally, and then writing music just fell right out of that. Like it was like an automatic, shift into that direction. And after I went through, actually right before I started, before the whole cancer thing happened, I was exploring the idea of, doing music, like really, really doing,
right.
Making songs and stuff. I was writing R&B songs. I was trying to sing, even though I know I can't. But I still try.
Hey, look, if there's any way to do anything with a band, it's always about jumping right in, whether you're good at it or
exactly.
not.
And that's what I do. So, after going through the whole cancer thing, I was like, well, shoot, I survived to do this. And that's what I just went as hard as I possibly could, diving in full body. Yeah.
Are you into any samplings? Because what I'm curious about as an off question on this one is with all the hip hop instrumentations and following the sense of history based on how producers sample things throughout the years, is there any like saxophone type of song or that has like a heavy influence on that kind of stuck with you throughout like your childhood? Was there like one particular song that really portrayed like an influence towards your style of music?
what the first song that comes to my head of hearing the saxophone was I think it was Queen Latifah. Like just
yes,
not
yes.
even it was Queen Latifah, and also you hear it a lot in Tribe Called Quest. So like hearing instruments, it definitely played a part. But I've always just been drawn to music for the longest, like since I was a little. I see a piano, I want to get on it.
Oh yeah, and to get into your illustration points too. Going back to your childhood, as far as like hip hop albums that you've looked to, if you had the chance to redraw one of those albums into your own, which one would you pick and why?
Ooh. You mean like the whole album or just
the whole album? I'm talking front to back.
Album. Oh, I love Tribe Called Quest, man. Like their vibe was just always just so hip hop. Like you can't get no more hip hop than that. Back then, I mean, damn, I would love to have been jumped in their music. Like just vibing with them, that would have definitely been dope.
What was so cool about them is their association with leaders of the new school and having that correlation with Busta Rhymes, the Long Island scene at the time. It spoke volumes to different voices working together. And of course, you may have seen things like that throughout this history of hip hop, but to see a New York presence and having that influence on both of us who are both from New York, it does give a portrayal as far as what resonates with us effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this too, just because they are more in the sense of, saying lyrical things that make you think in the terms is like Wu-Tang. And plus I'm from Staten Island, so I got to represent. But if I could have been the only female in the Wu-Tang clan, that would have been dope. That would have been dope.
I was telling somebody this. It's literally like it's kind of like an alumni association as far as how the members have extended throughout the period of time. Like I think the count of Wu-Tang is like over 250 members, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a lot of people in the Wu-Tang. I'm just not one of them, but I do know a lot of them. So, no.
Well, if we're both from Staten Island, officially now, we're part of the 500,000.
There you go.
Exactly.
We're in it.
We're
in their life somewhere.
Something that's a big commonality with you and I is now I also do hip hop music myself. And something that I've gravitated to because I used to curse in my music, I don't anymore, is that we don't really go to the sense of having derogatory language in our lyrics. Was there something that kind of like built that narrative in how you write your songs? Was that kind of like influence from somewhere? Like how did that kind of come about in your style?
Well, for me, it was, I have a young child at the time. When I got into music, I have a young daughter, and I thought about, do I want to hear my music coming out her mouth? And that's one thing I thought about, also there's so much more in the vocabulary that why always try to use that to fill it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes cursing is necessary. It depends on what you're talking about. Like, you might slip and say a couple things, but it's not what carries your record for me.
Right.
So, I personally don't feel the need to have to curse. It just, if it happens, it happens. It's not like I think people do that more for the shock and awe value to get people's attention in a record, but I feel like I should be able to say something that'll be like, did she just say what I think she said? You know what I mean? And type of thing, so I purposely limit cursing in my music.
I think with that being said too, is when you're working on a song, there's always the emotive sell. And whether that's influenced by the beats and the production of a song or the sense of expressing something that feels as authentic to somebody of what you're writing about, it can really pivot or make a difference as far as where you're trying to sell that sense of emotion.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I don't have, I'm not gonna say I don't curse in any records. I mean, I have more records that I didn't curse in than the ones that I have. And the ones that I have is probably like 2 or 3 curses.
Exactly.
Some things just needed to be accentuated.
Saying it so eloquently.
Yeah, exactly.
So as to take it to another sense of topic, and as your hip hop music has traversed you to getting through certain things. One of those examples is your battle with stage 4 cancer. And I commend you for sharing your story as vividly and as transparently as possible. So when you were writing the book for the survivor story, was that like a way that channeled your writing differently? And what do you think was the biggest change you adapted to as far as presenting like a style of writing?
Listen, I had to go to college. Put it that way. Like from writing music to writing a book, I literally went to college so I can learn how to write better. And it accomplished the goal. And it definitely, the writing style is totally different in terms of, because when you're writing music, you're trying to write in a rhythm, you know, so you make words fit that aren't a complete sentence, or, you know, have certain sentence structure. You know, you're not doing none of that. But when you're writing a paragraph and you're trying to convey an idea or tell a story or whatever it is you're doing, it's like it has to flow a certain way, you know, with commas and periods, you know, and exclamation points. Like you're not using that when you're writing music, you know what I mean? So it definitely was something I had to purposely learn to do so I could write a book. Like my book, the way it unfolded was I was told to do it. And this is before college. I just went on my computer and just typed for hours, right? Just typed for hours. No, it was like free writing, just nonstop. And then I left it alone for a while. Years later, I went to college, and then, you know, after going through that journey, and then I was pushed again to, hey, you have this book, why don't you publish it? And you know, people I was around at the time were pushing me really hard to do it. So I went in and I looked at it, and oh my God, I could see how bad I was writing versus, I'm like, these two, like the revision process was kind of like rewriting the whole book over to a degree, you know, because it was a lot.
So 2 follow-up questions to that. What do you think is one pet peeve in your writing that you always tend to repeat, but now with experience, you kind of like justify it and like you're able to fix it quicker?
You mean in music or in
just like with like writing books? So like, for example, is there anything that you always kind of like make mistakes with more oftenly than you should? And then
oh God, yeah. Like I had to purposely like jam into my mind there, and there, so your, you know, like this certain term, because, you know, the English language is just so jacked up. But, you know, it's like there was certain like then and there, like then, like you have to make sure that you're using the right words. Like that's one of my peeves. Like I'm always going back to make sure, did I do that right? Is that past tense, present tense? You know, just that. Yeah, that's that's what
I'll tell you for myself. So I used to do a lot of fundraising appeals within the nonprofit space. And one of my worst mistakes that I always make, thankfully I'm able to fix it more efficiently, is I use redundancies in the same sentence and I don't even realize how much I do it.
Yeah.
So it's literally like it's like having 2 depictions of a noun as far as trying to make the same point. And when I read back on stuff and getting the corrections back, it is a very counterproductive process when you get to
you can see where, you know, it's, I forgot what the term is called. Like I can't think of it right now, but yeah, when you're repeating, yeah, I know what you mean.
It's all crazy in that sense, right? So also another important component for the book is the collaboration with Chub Rock, who is a prolific and absolute legend in the hip hop industry. How was your connection with him associated? How did you two link up to be working together?
Well, one of my first managers introduced him and I together back in 2008. And there was a performance going on out here in Mahoney Park. They were having this big performance and Chub Rock was there. This is when 98.7 Kiss FM was 98.7 Kiss FM, you know. So I was, you know, to perform with Chub at that event. So, you know, that's how we met. And he thought I was playing. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm an MC. He was like, yeah, sure. And when he introduced me on the stage, like, I still have the footage. Like, he's sitting there like, word, she going in like that. Okay. So that's how me and Chubb became cool. And when I told him, you know, because at the time that was in 2008. So I was officially in remission in 2005. So it was just a couple years after. And his wife had just passed away from cancer, like not too long before I met him. So, you know, there was like this instant connection there, and he's just mad cool. You know, he's very intelligent, very, you know, easy to talk to type of person. So we just became really cool. And he was like, you should write a book about your cancer experience. I was like, why? He's like, because, like, why not? Like, you went through all that, you survived it. Like, people should know that story. I was like, all right, fine. And that's when I went to the whole blah, 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 when I blurted it all out on the computer for hours at a time. You know, so he was the reason why I wrote the book. So yeah, he had to do the foreword.
and kind of not to fully like emphasize with you, because that would just be false on my end, being that I've never been through cancer before. But I guess kind of configuring what Chub Rock's suggestion is think of it this way. When you go through things in your life, there's always a sense of that you have blood on your hands, because you're dealing with things of despair. You don't know where your future is going to be foreseen in it as well. So in the expressive way to heal and to actually get through a recovery process on a emotional level, it's kind of like, would you rather have the blood still on your hands, or would you rather express it on the paper to share with others, as far as that sense of pain, and to see how those people can maybe empathize with you more effectively?
Well, I mean, with me, it was funny because up until that, you know, of even telling him, I really didn't tell people about that I went through cancer.
Right.
It was something that I didn't feel like I needed to, hey, my name is Wendy, I'm a, you know, cancer survivor. Like, I never, you know, went out broadcasting it or telling people about it, because I just felt like, all right, this is just some shit I went through, part of my language, and I'm, you know, I'm gonna just keep going. But it was when, you know, little here and there, people would find out, they're like, oh my God, that's just so inspirational, and da 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 da. So when Chubb was, you know, saying that to me, he was saying it in a sense like, no, that's an inspirational story. Like, you should put it out there. If not for you, for someone else. I was like, all right, I guess, you know, okay. It still took me a while. Like, going through the writing process was therapeutic in a sense, because I wasn't allowing myself to fully process all of the emotions that of the experience. You know, I suppressed so much of it to get through it, that it was like in the process of writing the book, I was able to revisit a lot of things that I didn't want to, but it's like it had to happen, you know. So it was helpful, you know, but it definitely serves its purpose.
Also, as far as the components of your book, this is the second part of my last question. So what I'm curious about is, with everything that you've written in that book, what was one section that you felt like you had to really rewrite more than any other?
Ooh. That's an interesting one. I would say when I was going through the process, there was like more and more things that kept coming to mind that I forgot about.
Yeah.
Like, as I was writing it, this would come to my, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, shoot, I forgot about that. It's like, so, like I said, I suppressed so much that I didn't realize how much more I actually experienced until I started fleshing it all out and it just coming all in, you know. So it was definitely like the actual going through the chemotherapy part, and that was also tough to write too, because I was remembering it. It's like I was reliving it in a sense. What else was something I had to rewrite? I would say more about the wrap up about it, you know, like, because since it took me a good, I think, 2 years to revise the book and edit it, you know, as I'm coming to just a realization of looking back and you know, hindsight, and as more and more experiences were happening throughout my life and I was gaining more and more knowledge, it's like I was able to look back at it in different ways. So I was, you know, along the way of that was tweaking too. So
yeah. Absolutely. And you reach a very interesting point in that regard too, because for what you experience in your life, you go through the motions. The second part of experience that comes more in neglect because of the sense of trying to move forward, and I'm going to use air quotes on that term, is reflection is key to kind of fill in the gaps of what you've experienced, because that sense of reflection is able to depict the full sense of story that you're willing to share.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even what I've learned, even up till now, it is vital to acknowledge your experience and how you feel and how you felt, to allow that to be okay.
Of
you
course.
know, like it was warranted for you to feel the way you felt in that moment. Like you have to allow yourself to express whatever it is. You're never wrong for the way you feel. It's just what do you do with it after that, you know?
Absolutely. And in another way, like as we've been talking about music in your book for the last 15, 20 minutes, what's been interesting in that regard is how you cherish the full aspect of life, which you've made your own company and how you branded it. So,
yes,
of course, you want to make things more multifaceted and, in a sense, multidimensional. So, like, what's one part of your routine that you embrace later on in life to understand the effect of like your full circle?
Oh, meditation. Like meditation is, wow. Like, you know, the full aspect was really created from the space of there's so many levels that you could view reality from. You know, you can view it from the reality of the way society sees things. You can view it from the aspect of, you know, a more prolific space, or just looking at things from totally different, you know, there's subjective and there's objective, you know, and it's like the full aspect stays more in the objective space of viewing things for as it is and making an observation and really seeing through certain things so that you can navigate better, you know, because a lot of times we internalize so much and take it all so personal that we don't take a step back and just look at it from a different perspective so that you can have a totally different experience of it, you know, because multiple people can look at the same situation and have multiple different experiences, you know, and the full aspect kind of, you know, gives you more to think about, you know, in terms of looking at the brighter side of things or looking at the silver lining in the dark clouds. You know, that's really where that is. What the purpose of it is just to give you that perspective of the, okay, that calms me down a bit, you know?
Yes. And also something I've noticed on your social media is that when you have people following your brand and what you're representing, you kind of narrate the points of those people kind of involved in your life and how they're able to establish a sense of security in theirs based on what they're going through. Was there any particular story recently that really took you like to a step back as far as like, wow, for what I was going through at the time, I was not expecting it to really hit somebody else in this way?
Oh, I mean, I've had moments where even I was performing and, you know, before I performed, you know, I was introduced, you know, this is my story, blah, blah, blah. And just seeing the look on people's faces of appreciation, and they just feel so inspired. Like you can see it in their eyes. It's like, that moves me. Like if I can hook that up to an IV and just stick it in and I could just take it all day, like it's so energizing to be like, wow, my life actually means something. Like this isn't in vain. Like I didn't go through all that pain for nothing. Like when I see, like even when people will send me messages, you know, and I am, you know, DM me and you know, express their gratitude and how it's helped them throughout that day, even if it's just that moment, like it makes everything like, okay, I guess it was worth it then. You know,
I could
you know,
not agree more with that sentiment for sure. Now, as we've talked about experience and reflection and what you've done in your life since the unfortunate mishap of going through cancer, like what's the first thing now that comes to your mind when you think of the term stage 4?
Possibility. Like
That's
possibilities
a very
is the first
that
thing
word
that comes
perfectly
to
fits
mind.
you.
Yeah, that to me, because stage 4 doesn't have to mean death. Stage 4 can just be a stage to the next thing. I'm speaking to someone recently. I was connected with a woman on Facebook, reached out to me. Her daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer and she wanted me to talk to her. And, I got to just talking with her and explaining to her, like, don't look at this as the end. There's no branding on you saying that this is over. Like, this is a phase of what you're going through. Focus on the end result of this. Like, for me, I focused on the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. God damn it. As dark as it is in here, I know there's a light. You know what I mean? So I was determined. And that's what, like, your mindset plays such a huge component in any part of your life, from healing to anything, like, to getting up every morning, your mindset, having the day you have, like, your mindset's very important. So I stress that a lot to, like, just get your mind right,
And in a sense of awareness on this too, because for the longest time, until about last year, maybe a little bit before the pandemic, I was pretty neglectful of vitamins and supplements because I would kind of do that through what I was eating and not really paying attention to the sense of like magnesium in certain like vitamins and how healthy some of those things can be. Like, what's something you would recommend right now to people who do want to get their health as healthy as their mindset is capable of being?
Right now, I would recommend the vitamins I've been taking for the last 8 years. It's called Limoplex. It's a powder. You put it in like this much water and you drink it. And for me, so my story was chemotherapy destroyed my immune system. I was getting 2 and 3 severe colds a year. Like every time I got over a cold, I was getting another one. And I was trying vitamins. I was in GNC all day, every day. I was, trying to eat better food. And realistically, you couldn't eat enough food to get the amount of vitamins and that you need for the day. Like, you would have to eat a whole bucket of strawberries just to get the vitamins that's from strawberries alone. So you can eat as healthy as you want, but you're not getting the full capacity, especially depending on where you live, the stress that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, the environment, the air, like all that stuff. It puts strain on your immune system. So the Limoplex I found when I started researching some natural remedies, like my take and shy take mushrooms. And a friend of mine started this company. He's like, hey, you're in the, health and wellness. When we were talking about it, he sent me some. And the first week, no lie, I tell you, I kid you not, the first 3-4 days of me taking it, I literally felt a difference in my body. Like,
wow,
I had more energy. It was amazing. Like, trust me, I was taking all types of supplements. None of them did that. I was taking the pack with the, 10 different vitamins in it, or this one here, the prenatal vitamin. I was trying everything. And within the first week of taking this, I kid you not, I felt my energy returning. I had to like tell myself to go to bed because I wasn't getting tired like I used to. And I took it like straight for like 6-7 months. And I didn't get a cold for almost 2 years. And when I finally did, it was very mild. Since then, I still take it. I still take it. I swear by these vitamins. Like, people go to my website, zizzolife.com, scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see it, Rejuvenetics. Go on there, get you that Limoplex. They have other stuff too, like the probiotics, because, your immune system is mainly in your gut. So that's why the food you eat is so important, because if you're putting sludge in your body, then your body, that's all it got to work with. You make your body work harder, you make your immune system work harder. So, that's why I even like the Limoplex so much, because I can't stand pills. So this is, you just take it like a bottle of water, like half a bottle of water, pour it in there, and take it back in the morning, and that's it.
Is there ever one food that always is it's like your ultimate temptation? Even the thought of it makes you just want to go to the store and just be like, okay, it's time to spend this $10.50 and have a ball.
Oh man, there's so many of them, but definitely sweets, of course. Like, I love my chocolate. I mean, I'm fighting with I had chocolate cake for my birthday, and I was trying not to eat them as much as I had, like, but
This is
Yeah,
the
ice
beauty
cream
of
too.
Staten Island, and to have a bit of a plug, not to name any bakery in particular, but one thing aside from our pizza, and you could vouch for this as well, we have the best bakeries, and I'm just gonna go on a limb saying that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, this is the Italians out here. So that's one thing they know how to do is bake. So I
It's
am half Sicilian,
insanity.
so I be knowing. Now,
So
but there's definitely some good spots out here. That.
aside from the desserts that I'm about to indulge in a little while as part of my change, how do you want to be part of change in 2021?
Oh, wow. I want to promote or just exemplify or, show people self-love. Like, it is such an important thing that I think a lot of people don't truly grasp the concept of what self-love really is. Like, people think self-love is just, oh, let me go, buy myself something nice, or let me pamper my feet. Like, no, true self-love is meeting yourself, creating a true intimate relationship with you, how you feel, how you think. And it's almost like you becoming your own best friend on a whole nother level of tuning in and healing these different aspects of yourself that you could never notice unless if you pay attention to yourself. It's, and self-love is just that's one thing I want to promote into 2021, because with everything that's going on in life, there's so much stuff that's coming to surface that is needing to be integrated and transformed. Self-love is the only way for us to truly have change in society, because the only way change happens is when you start with yourself. And it sounds so cliche, but it's really true.
I always say this as a final point: cliches, although they're meant to be generic, they're meant to be impactful. And I feel like people, yes, we try to recreate and redefine different terms, but at the same time, when you do go back to your basics, you have a full on understanding as far as what you are learning and how you're able to interpret it for yourself.
Absolutely. I agree.
So I have to say, Wendy, thank you for being part of the change within for 2021. And please follow us on Anchor, Instagram, Facebook,
Absolutely.
and YouTube for the Change Within podcast. Wendy, thank you again and have a great night.
You too. Peace, love.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.